Tonight, a controversial Liberal candidate ejected from the state election race as party friction heats up. Hello, I'm Bethanie Alderson. This is ABC News South Australia. Also, another search for missing boy Gus Lamont turns up no new evidence. Oil tankers erupt in flames and cargo vessels are struck in a fresh wave of Iranian attacks. Adelaide Hills residents kick up a stink over a nearby fertiliser firm. And all eyes on Alderson ahead of Josh Carr's coaching debut this weekend. A Liberal candidate who voiced controversial opinions on homosexuality, feminism and Islam has been dumped just 2 days out from the start of early voting. Carsten Woodhouse will no longer run as a Liberal candidate for the northern suburbs seat of Wright, a move that has inflamed factional tensions within the party. It comes as the leaders prepare to face off in a debate tomorrow.
2 days, two very different positions on a controversial Liberal candidate.
He is our candidate. I don't share those views. And that person is no longer a candidate for the Liberal Party at this state election.
Carsten Woodhouse dropped over his views, ones he shared with an American evangelical podcast, labelling feminism and homosexuality as demonic, Islam as poisonous and wrong, and the so-called trans agenda as insanity.
There's this whole reality pretending that same-sex marriage is real, like it's not.
Prompting widespread criticism.
It's not just offensive and disappointing, it may lead to very bad consequences in the future.
This kind of behaviour, these kinds of comments are abhorrent.
Today, Labor continued digging the dirt with this new video.
If something can be interpreted as a Nazi salute, there's a minimum 1 year and a maximum 7-year sentence just for that. Dude. Which is crazy.
Before this warning shot from the party's Conservative leadership in Canberra.
If this guy is disendorsed or if he feels compelled to leave, we might as well shut the doors on this election with 1 week to go.
By mid-afternoon, the candidate was gone. Ashton Hearn wouldn't say whether he was pushed out the door.
So why can't you give us clarity on whether he was disendorsed or whether he stepped away himself?
Because
the voters know that.
But he's no longer the candidate.
They have now lurched from shambolic to open warfare.
The party's state director confirming Mr Woodhouse had been asked to step down, but he's still employed at Liberal headquarters. Ashton Hearn was in a difficult position. She's moved to distance herself and her party from Mr Woodhouse's controversial comments. But the end of his candidacy risks a conflict with the Conservative faction of her party, which, as Senator Antics' comments show, has the potential to play out publicly. Catherine Birmingham, ABC News.
And a reminder, Peter Malinauskas and Ashton Hearn will go head-to-head in the SA Press Club's Leaders Debate tomorrow, moderated by Radio Adelaide's Rory McLaren. You can tune in on ABC TV and radio across South Australia and on streaming platforms. Another search for missing 4-year-old Gus Lamont has ended in the state's mid-north without any fresh evidence. Police spent 2 days on the remote property in the hopes the recent heavy rainfall would unearth new clues. George Yankovic has this report.
Officers were scouring Oak Park Station just south of Yunta, hoping to unearth fresh evidence in the case of the missing 4-year-old who disappeared from his family's homestead last September. The 2-day effort was the latest in a string of searches conducted at the property involving complex ground, air and water operations. Police had high hopes that the recent heavy rainfall across most parts of the state would offer the possibility of finding fresh evidence, but they confirmed earlier today that officers were on their way home. The Police Commissioner Grant Stevens had said that South Australia Police will not stop trying to find Gus, who reportedly disappeared while playing outside on his family's his vast sheep grazing station. Since then, the disappearance has been declared a major crime, police believing that somebody close to Gus was responsible for accidentally or deliberately killing him, although his parents are not considered suspects. But more than 6 months on, with no physical traces of the young boy being found, it remains unknown whether police are any closer to making an arrest.
George Yankovic reporting there. Well, 32 countries have agreed to release 400 million barrels of oil to address fears over global supply as the US and Israel's war with Iran escalates. Dramatic scenes have unfolded in the Strait of Hormuz as Iran attacks oil tankers and cargo vessels.
Pouring fuel on the flames of war. Oman oil storage facilities hit by drones. While explosive-laden Iranian boats target oil tankers strangling the Strait of Hormuz, Iraq evacuating dozens of crew members from burning vessels.
All members here.
These Thai crew capturing the moment they escaped an Iranian attack. As the war stems the flow of oil tankers through the strait, 32 countries, members of the International Energy Agency, are launching the largest ever release of emergency stocks, 400 million barrels of oil.
But, to be clear, the most important thing for a return to stable flows of oil and gas is the resumption of transit through the Strait of Hormuz.
The regime remains adamant it won't allow a single drop through.
Any vessel whose ship or oil cargo belongs to the United States, the Zionist regime or their hostile partners will be considered a legitimate target.
The US President Donald Trump providing his assurance.
And my administration, as you know better than anybody, is also working to keep the oil flowing. It's flowing all over.
As US and Israel's bombardment of Iran continues, the country's exiled crown prince has renewed calls for the regime's military to defect.
This is your last chance to break from the oppressive forces and join your people.
While the Islamic Republic issued a stern warning.
If someone comes to the streets at the request of the enemy, we do not see them as protesters. We see them as enemies. All our children are ready to fire.
The Iranian government has also released evidence it says proves the US killed more than 160 civilians, mostly children, in a strike on a girls' school. This vision purportedly showing debris from a US missile, adding to preliminary findings by US authorities.
A new report says the military investigation has found it was the United States that struck the school.
I don't know about it.
Iran is demonstrating it can still fight back, firing at Israel and targets across the Middle East. The Israeli government says its operation with the US will continue for as long as it takes to crush the Iranian regime. Bridget Rollison, ABC News, Jerusalem.
Australia is still finalising its response to the International Energy Agency's call. But today, the federal government took action to boost domestic fuel supplies. The Energy Minister temporarily relaxing environmental standards to alleviate shortages in regional areas. Here's National Affairs correspondent Jane Norman.
Rising prices fueling panic. Unleaded now firmly over $2 a litre. Diesel a record high.
The fact that Bunnings ran out of jerry cans is enough evidence that we've gone down the wrong path here.
Panic buying and stockpiling disrupting the supply chain.
We're seeing a doubling of demand for fuel since the bombing of Iran, and that is what has caused real unacceptable supply chain pressure.
The government insists supply is not the issue, with 36 days worth of petrol, 32 days of diesel and 29 days of jet fuel in reserve. But Australia is exposed. With only 2 refineries onshore, 90% of its fuel is imported.
Can the Prime Minister guarantee that
Australia will not run out of fuel. Can you guarantee Australia will not run out of fuel?
Resume your seat.
Under pressure, the government's taken action, temporarily boosting supplies by relaxing the fuel standards designed to reduce pollutants and emissions.
This will see 100 million litres of fuel extra flow in Australia a month over that time.
Roughly 2 days' worth. Brisbane's Ampol refinery to redirect the dirtier fuel normally exported into the domestic market. Regional Australia the priority.
Practical action to help farmers, to help regional Australians through this immediate crisis.
We need a way too to make sure that, if needed, restrictions could be applied in our big metropolitan areas so that food production isn't hindered.
A fortnight into this war, the government is grappling with the enormous economic aftershocks. Treasury analysis seen by the ABC suggests if oil prices remain at current levels, inflation is set to surge even higher above the Reserve Bank's band, putting more pressure on the board to lift interest rates. Jane Norman, ABC News, Canberra.
There is no immediate fix for surging fuel prices, despite pledges from governments around the world to do what they can to ease price pressures. Here's Chief Business Correspondent Ian Verinder with his take.
There was a swift reaction to the International Energy Agency's decision to open the oil floodgates. It bolted past $100 a barrel. Perhaps someone did the maths. 400 million barrels divided by 20 million a day taken out by the war. That's less than 3 weeks' supply. In our case, the situation is even more dire. Our oil production has dropped 90% since 2000. Most is now sent to Singapore, where it's refined and then shipped back at enormous cost. We're supposed to have 3 months of strategic reserves, but that was scaled back to 50 days, with a large portion held in America, which has since been sold. On some estimates, we have just 25 days' worth in the can. The longer the Persian Gulf is shut, the more acute and extended the shortage, and the higher prices will climb. In the US, gasoline has surged 20% in the past fortnight, putting pressure on Donald Trump to swiftly bring this conflict to a close.
Ian Verinder reporting there. And coming up on 7:30 with Sarah Ferguson, the Kurdish militia mobilising to join the war on Iran.
Are they your fighters?
Yes, they're all coming here now because they know America and Israel are attacking Iran.
Our goal is to end the occupation of Kurdistan by the Iranian regime.
Also, I'll speak to former Israeli Defence Minister Benny Gantz about what comes next in the war that's coming up.
Back home, the mother of a 6-year-old girl who died of severe malnourishment after years of criminal neglect has been jailed for 17 years. SA's Supreme Court was told 50-year-old Crystal Leanne Hanley fundamentally failed as a mother, leading to the death of her daughter, Charlie. And a warning, this report contains distressing details.
6-year-old Charlie died after years of criminal neglect at the hands of her mother. 50-year-old Crystal Hanley pleaded guilty to her neglect and the neglect of 2 of her other children. She's now behind bars for at least 12 years, but her total sentence won't expire until she's 67. Justice Sandy McDonald said Charlie's life ended when her body collapsed and her heart gave way due to cardiac failure caused by malnutrition. The court previously heard the 6-year-old was sick for weeks, living in squalor in her Manopara home. The judge said prison phone calls between Hanley and Charlie's father capture her callous disregard for the 6-year-old's worsening condition.
Yeah, you like your present, Charlie? From Daddy? Oh, she's crook again.
She said at times you can hear Charlie crying about pain in her legs. Justice McDonald today reminded Hanley her 6-year-old daughter was screaming because she was sick and in pain. She said her inaction to get Charlie medical help was a failing as a mother at the most fundamental level. Justice McDonald said there was almost no record of 6-year-old Charlie's existence, having never been enrolled at school and having never seen a doctor nor dentist. She said that the little girl's birth in 2016 wasn't even registered and she didn't even have a Medicare number. The court previously heard Hanley's conduct worsened after she was victim of domestic violence and increased her drug abuse. The judge concluded the mother of 7 has since accepted her failures and has shown remorse. Eva Blandis, ABC News.
The Australian Medical Association says South Australian patients seeking emergency care and urgent surgery face some of the longest delays in the country. Its latest public hospital report card has found half of emergency department presentations were completed in 4 hours or less, a near worst-in-class performance. Despite more hospital beds, it found only 44% of urgent ED patients were seen on time, a slight improvement from the year before. Meanwhile, urgent and planned surgery wait times have risen.
In terms of what we said we would do to boost the capacity in the health system before the last election, we have gone well over and above that.
Clearly, it is not just creating additional beds. This is going to have to be a whole-of-system reform.
Residents from 3 small Adelaide Hills communities located near a major fertiliser producer are calling for it to move its stockpiles of chicken manure. They say it creates a pungent smell and they're worried about health impacts from dust and gases, but to date, no investigations have been made public. Emma Masters has this Stateline story.
Nature's gift of rainwater is usually a welcome thirst quencher. But some Adelaide Hills residents stopped drinking theirs when it began to change colour.
Just in the one test they did with our rainwater, we were positive to E. coli. But the worst part about that was the amount of nitrates that are in the water.
Locals blame these stockpiles of chicken manure used to make fertiliser. Dozens of metres-high mounds baking in the open, less than 1.5 kilometres from the edge of the closest town.
Rotting, stinking chicken dung. And everybody knows that chicken dung is bad news.
They say a pungent smell cloaks 3 nearby towns regularly, forcing residents indoors.
It's quite revolting.
It's untenable. You can't sit outside.
I'm pleased I'm not here anymore, and that's why we sold the farm.
I don't think making fertiliser describes what we do.
Fertiliser producer Nutrog is a multi-million-dollar company. It's facing court in July after pleading guilty to a series of environmental breaches, including polluting the environment and causing odour, and exceeding the maximum stockpile heights of 3 metres.
Doesn't fix anything for us. We are still having the same issues. There we are, sir.
Donna Twikos owns a local heritage pub and accommodation and says her business is suffering.
People are smelling it and you're trying to have, food and wine and create this sort of cultural experience. It's terrible.
Many community members I've spoken to say they feel ignored and want answers to their long-running questions over air quality and exposure to dust and gases. Nutrog has declined an interview but says its litter is treated to ensure it presents no risks and is tested independently. The EPA has investigated but hasn't released the findings, citing its court action.
They do have the data about the health impacts on the community, and it's time that that is released.
The Mount Barker Council has voted for a parliamentary inquiry and locals are backing the push. But many say there's only one solution.
They've just got to insist that Nutrog removes its piles.
This problem will never go away while that compost is outside the way it is.
A problem continuing to linger. Emma Masters, ABC News.
Overseas, Israel's intense bombardment of Lebanon is fueling a humanitarian crisis that's putting immense strain on the financially crippled country. More than 700,000 Lebanese citizens are now displaced, with people forced to camp in tents and charities picking up the slack.
Lebanon's largest football stadium usually fits 45,000 fans. Now hundreds of residents are seeking shelter from Israeli strikes underneath the stands.
We were bathing the children when they suddenly issued a warning to evacuate the entire southern suburbs of Beirut. So we quickly put our things in a van and left right away.
This is a crisis that involves all of Lebanon.
The local municipality is trying to provide services to those sleeping at the complex and at 100 other sites across Beirut.
Well, the first thing is to try to reach out to people. We have to understand that these people have escaped very dangerous situations.
I honestly don't know if it'll be a long time or a short time.
The threat is ever present as Israel continues its bombardment of Beirut and beyond after the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah weighed into the broader regional conflict in solidarity with Iran. Lebanon's social safety net is non-existent, leaving charities to feed, clothe and house the desperate and displaced.
We cannot tell no for anyone.
This kitchen is serving up to 5,000 meals a day, almost double its usual amount.
We feel deep down in our mission, we are protected by our God.
And some of those who keep the kitchen going recently fled their own homes in the south.
With my yoga and my faith, we always stay hopeful. Hopefully we will return.
Feeding that dream, the order of the day. Matthew Doran, ABC News.
Turning to finance now, here's David Chow.
In the past 24 hours, the Aussie dollar got pretty close to 72 US cents, which is its highest level in 3.5 years, before it went down slightly to 71.2 cents. Its gains in recent days were due to some comments by the Reserve Bank Deputy Governor Andrew Hauser, who said there'll be a very genuine debate at the next RBA meeting. All four of Australia's big banks interpreted that to mean expect a rate hike next Tuesday. And it couldn't have come at a worse time, especially with oil back above $100 a barrel, which dashes any hope of petrol prices falling back to where they were before Israel and America attacked Iran. This latest spike came after reports of at least 6 ships being attacked near the Strait of Hormuz over the past day. So Donald Trump's pledge to offer Navy protection to oil tankers and the International Oil Agency's decision to release a record amount of oil into the markets have essentially done nothing to calm investors' nerves. So while oil surged 9% today, the price of gold went down to about $5,140 an ounce. So it's probably no surprise that oil stocks did well today and shares of gold miners did poorly. And overall, it was another bad day for the share market after it fell by a fairly steep 1.4%, as the reality seems to be sinking in that this war could drag on and lead to higher fuel prices, higher inflation and higher interest rates. Overseas, things weren't that much better for markets in the US or Asia. And just finally, the cheerful folks at Commonwealth Bank have warned this war could last months, that markets are currently underestimating the risks, and the oil price could even surge above 150 US a barrel, which would be a new record for all the wrong reasons. And that's finance.
To sport, members of the men's Iranian soccer team will not play in the FIFA World Cup co-hosted by the United States later this year. Meanwhile, supporters here say everything will be done to make the 6 members of the women's team who sought asylum in Australia feel at home in their new country.
Firuza Amiri knows what it's like to start a new life in Australia as a refugee.
It would be very hard when you say bye to your home and you know that you're not going to go back ever.
The Iranian-born member of the Afghan women's cricket team fled the country when the Taliban returned to power. She has this advice for the 6 members of the Iranian women's football team who sought asylum in Australia.
Missing home, I always do find a cricket ground, you can find a soccer field. That will be reminding you who you are.
The Iranian women are getting help from the International Footballers Union, and A-League clubs have offered to help.
Finding houses, support them in relation to learning English, etc. So there'll be a whole community around them.
It's an opportunity for them to know that there's a club out here that cares about them and is willing to offer them a safe space.
The members of the team who left Australia are still in Malaysia, their journey home still up in the air. Now, Iran's men's team has pulled out of this year's FIFA World Cup in the United States. The country's sports minister appeared on TV saying,
"This corrupt government assassinated our leader, so we are not in a situation to participate in the World Cup."
Hours earlier, FIFA President Gianni Infantino met with the US President Donald Trump, later posting, President Trump reiterated that the Iranian team is, of course, welcome to compete in the tournament in the United States. That wishful thinking was quickly washed away. This week's events have well and truly put paid to that thorny old cliche that sport and politics never mix. David Mark, ABC News.
The Crows have 3 debutants for Saturday night's round 1 clash with the Pies at the MCG. Toby Murray will make his AFL debut, while ruck Lachlan McAndrew and forward Callum Archie play their first games for Adelaide. At Alderson, Jack Watkins is set to play his first game, named in a squad alongside recruits Jacob Ware and Corey Durden for Sunday's match against the Roos.
After years of planning but just months in the top job, Josh Carr makes his coaching debut on Sunday.
I'm feeling pretty good at the moment. You get a bit edgy at times, but really confident in us as a football club and really confident in the coaches and the players around me. It's not just about me.
But replacing long-term Alberton favourite Ken Hinckley does put the spotlight on Carr. Already he's turned to mature-age rookie Jack Watkins, selected after an impressive summer.
It hasn't surprised me because he's just consistent in the way he goes about his footy and his training and effort.
The power list is an unknown quantity, and how the likes of Vicentini, Whitlock and Berry can improve will be crucial. The experienced additions in Jacob Ware and Corey Durden will be needed to perform, while Todd Marshall in a new role in defence and the injury-plagued Jack Lukosius are keys to any finals hopes. It's a favourable first month of fixtures, starting with North Melbourne on Sunday.
They've got some talent through their team, from their front six. Curtis, Larkey, Darling, guys that can kick goals to their midfield. It's probably around their strength.
The Pies have winning form going into their MCG clash with Adelaide, but will again be missing captain Darcy Moore, needing to put his comeback from injury on hold for at least another week.
Darcy had to get through a fitness test and unfortunately he's pulled up a bit sore. I'm not sure exactly what that means at the moment, but he won't play.
And the Crows have appointed former Premiership Hawk Jared Roughead as their new list manager. Matthew Smith, ABC News.
Thunderbirds superstar Shamira Sterling-Humphrey marks her return for the season opener after having a baby. The T-Birds will clash against the Swifts this Saturday night at the Adelaide Entertainment Centre. The side will debut international recruits Kate Heffernan and Elmire Vanderberg. Sterling-Humphrey missed most of the season last year and will also make her first appearance as co-captain alongside Georgie Horges. Darcy Harry from Wales holds a one-shot lead after the first round of the Women's Australian Open at Kooyonga in Adelaide. World number 9 Hannah Green is 4 shots off the lead, while 3-time major winner Minjee Lee is 2 shots further back at even par. LPGA Tour player Steph Kyriakou had a horror opening round with 2 quadruple bogeys. An Outback chopper pilot and a police officer have been labelled heroes after they saved 2 people and their dog from a car stuck in floodwaters in the Northern Territory town of Katherine. Onlookers captured the nail-biting rescue, showing the pilot, who happened to be flying overhead, managing to hover next to the vehicle, while a brave police officer stood on the roof and helped the driver and passenger and German Shepherd to safety. Pilot John Armstrong said the rescue was easy compared to mustering work on cattle stations.
It doesn't fly differently because there's floodwater there. It just looks spectacular. So you just have to try and be as professional as you can.
Let's take a look at South Australia's weather now, but first, tonight's photo of Victor Harbour on the Fleurieu Peninsula was sent in by Linda Hayward. It was partly cloudy in Adelaide today. It hit a top of 22.8 degrees around 10 past 2 after an overnight low of 13. Across the state, Mount Gambier had just 1 millimetre of rain with a top of 18 degrees there, as Ceduna reached 22 degrees and it was 32.5 in Oodnadatta. Cloud-generated rain and storms across the tropics today, causing flooding in some areas, with stormy weather also in parts of WA, New South Wales and Queensland, and wet for Tasmania and Victoria. That stormy weather will continue in the top end tomorrow, with the odd storm for southern WA and our state. There'll be showers too over parts of New South Wales, Queensland and Tassie. Around the country, a top of 28 degrees in Perth, 30 for Darwin, wet and 31 in Townsville, 24 for Canberra and a top of 19 in Hobart. Back home, there'll be isolated showers in the far west, with top temperatures near to above average in the northwest, hitting 28 degrees in Port Augusta. Further south, expect dry, cool and mostly cloudy conditions throughout, reaching just 19 degrees in Kingscote and 22 degrees for Clare. There's a strong wind warning tomorrow for the far and upper west coasts as the flood warning continues for inland rivers, mainly along the Warburton River and lower Cooper Creek around Inaminka. It'll be partly cloudy over the city again tomorrow with a top of 25 degrees after a low of 12. On the waters, southeasterly winds up to 20 knots with seas around a metre. The sun will rise around 7:12 and set about 20 to 8. And looking at the 7-day forecast, a top of 29 degrees on Saturday, 31 for Sunday, a shower or two and 27 on Monday, then a top of 31 degrees for this time next week. And that's all the news to now. Thanks very much for your company. Don't forget our special broadcast of the SA Leaders Debate tomorrow at 12:30. Stay with us though, 7:30 is up next.